Good morning, everybody. I'm Thaine with Premier Carpet Cleaning and Restoration. I always like to start off my presentation by giving you a little bit of background.
I forgot to let him do his.
Oh, do a commercial?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Sorry, I forgot. I was like, wait a second,
Start my presentations, give a little bit of background about me, a little bit of update of what's going on in my life, and then I'll share a little bit more about my business. So I'm about 31 years old. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is kind of a desert, arid climate, similar to Phoenix. You would find down in Phoenix, just not quite as hot. I grew up in a real estate family. My family's had a company in Albuquerque for over 60 years, buying, selling, managing realty properties. So I kind of grew up cleaning, fixing, and painting everything. Everything from old adobe buildings that have been in Albuquerque for over 100 years to brand new construction type of maintenance. So I have a kind of a background in construction. I know what the inside of the walls look like. I'm very familiar with different types of construction, both old and new, which has helped me in my business today tenfold. Being able to know what I'm going to be coming into a situation, and you know, if you have to cut out some drywall, knowing where not to cut the wires, you know, the electrical, or how not to use a saw when you know you're going to be coming up across a water line, something like that. You don't want to make a bad situation worse. When I was about 14 years old, my grandfather got me my first paint sprayer, airless paint sprayer. And so if I wasn't cleaning carpet today, I would probably be painting, whether it be interior, exterior. So I spent nights, summers, weekends, pretty much most of my life cleaning, fixing, and painting, getting rentals and things ready for new tenants. So it's kind of a little bit about where I came from. When I was through middle school, I was actually homeschooled, and my mom was trying to find different outlets and things for me to do so that I would be socialized as well as educated. So I got into a program called the Civil Air Patrol. And for those of you that don't know the Civil Air Patrol, they're an auxiliary to the United States Air Force, and their focus is on three things. The cadet program, which is bringing young kids into the program, teaching them about leadership, aerospace science, and emergency service, which are the other two keys to the Civil Air Patrol. So I grew up learning about search and rescue and radios, first aid, how to search for patterns and aircraft or people, that kind of a thing. But one of the biggest things that it taught me was about leadership. And beyond just general how to lead people in your organization, or how to help people that may not be as advanced in education or age as you, bring them up to a position of leadership. It also taught me a lot about how do you get a job, how do you socialize, how do you interact with people, and it taught me how to keep my nails clipped, my hair cut, how to look at people directly in the eyes, how to shake hands properly, those types of things. So I really credit the Air Force and the Civil Air Patrol for a lot of my outgoing behaviors and being able to communicate effectively with adults and children, whether they be close to my age or well outside of my age bracket. So I really credit a lot of who I am today to those experiences that I had in my life. So fast forward quite a few years, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I had the opportunity to start my own company, and I took the skills and the knowledge that I've learned over the last 5 years in a kind of a new and unforgiving industry, always changing, new education. Right now is kind of an exciting time in technology for my industry. So I started Premier Carpet Cleaning and Restoration, and we're going into our 3rd year. We've been growing each year, getting ready to expand into some new vehicles and start training some new people. So it's kind of an exciting time in my life. I got married about 3 years ago, and so this is kind of a transitional period I see in my life. Things are calming down a little bit. I've got a really good handle on the industry and where I want to go. I've been married to my wife for 3 years now, and I'll tell you, God put her on this earth for me. We have a very unique relationship. I believe that we now live in a very disposable world, whether it be disposable diapers or disposable plastic or flatware. Kids my age grew up in a very disposable world. My wife and I, relationships are also very disposable in today's day and age. Kids these days, they're like, oh, I'll just find another person, I'll just find another person. They don't really want to work on what they have or try and develop what they have, because they're used to just throwing stuff away. So that's where my wife and I have a very big relationship. We know that this is it for us. I don't plan to ever have another marriage. I told my wife the only way she's getting rid of me is if I die. So, and she's comfortable with that too. So, it worked out really well.
I say you better be nice.
So that's a little bit about me and where my business came from. And next I want to talk a little bit about Premier, and I want to talk about two separate topics. But the first is maintenance. And Steve really touched on something this morning when he said it's easier to maintain and it's cheaper to maintain what you already have versus trying to repair or restore after the maintenance has been forgone for so long. This translates into a number of different areas in my business. Everything from carpet cleaning or tile cleaning, upholstery cleaning. It's much easier to maintain or clean the items that you have than it would be to replace them. We do some restorative work, especially in rental homes and things like that, where the carpet has been down for maybe 5 or 8 years. It's been lived in by one family, maybe not so bad to the point to where it needs to be replaced, but it definitely would be a good thing to have that type of thing cleaned. We are experts in our field, and what I mean by that is not only are we trained and certified, but we have taken the time to really hone our craft and develop the types of things and the things that we do clean. Now, what are the types of things that we clean? Everything. It's easier for you to call me and me tell you, no, that's not something I do, let me refer you, than it is to tell you all of the different things that we do. As you guys know, as being business owners in Northern Arizona, you have to be very diverse on the products or the services that you provide to your clients. We're a very seasonal town, especially down here in Sedona. We have the tourist seasons. We have a lot of snowbirds that take off for the winter or come up here for the winter to kind of escape other areas. So it's very important for you to be diverse in the different types of things that you do. So I will expand a little bit on the different services that we do. We specialize in carpet, tile, and upholstery cleaning. Now, down here in Sedona in particular, there's a lot of antique fabrics or older pieces of furniture. A lot of guys are very leery about working with those types of things because the high liability or the high risk in cleaning something that's very sentimental in value. Sentimental value, in a lot of cases, will surpass monetary value to most people. Heirlooms, things that they've had in their family for a very long time. We specialize in taking your pieces of furniture and treating them better than we would treat our own stuff. Sometimes that means that we have to say, no, we can't clean that. It may be damaged or worn out to a point to where cleaning it may damage the items. And so we take the time to make sure that we inspect each and every one of our items for loose threads, weak areas, to make sure that when we do clean them that we take care of them as best we can. So maintenance can also turn into the restoration world. And when I mean restoration, I talk about water, fire, and mold damage. We just recently worked on a project for Jim Lawler, who says hello, by the way.
Oh.
The plumber replaced a valve underneath the sink, and didn't pressure check it well, and it leaked for 6 weeks while the lady was out of town.
Jeez.
There was no home wash.
There was no home wash. That's right.
Excellent.
Whereas if the home was watched and maintained properly, people were looking out for these types of errors, they would have saved themselves thousands of dollars in replacing a wood laminate floor.
Wow.
So sometimes things can't be restored back to new. Sometimes they do have to be replaced. And Premier has the expert knowledge to be able to say, yes, we can fix this, or no, it's probably best to replace this. So, moral of the story, folks, is to maintain. Check your items. It's going to be cheaper to deal with it now than it is going to be dealing with a problem 6 weeks from now. One other thing that I just wanted to touch on for kind of business development, or something that's really spoken to me over the last couple of weeks, is, do you want to be the hero in your business, or do you want to be the villain? Each one of our businesses have pitfalls or things that we may come across that are unseen, that we don't necessarily expect in the normal course of the project. How do you protect yourself in that, being in that, and having those pitfalls in your industry? It's all about that front-end client expectation management. We go into a house, there's very dirty carpet in the traffic lanes. We always talk to people, there might be a textural difference. There might be some wear and tear or damage to the carpet that may not be a cleanable issue. By talking to our clients and letting them know this on the front end will save you a lot of headache and a lot of stress through the project, or trying to have to come up with an excuse or reason at the end to explain why this happened. So it's always better to explain those things on the front end. Tell people, you know, this isn't something that we necessarily foresee in this project, but it is something that we've seen before. So that's all I got for you today, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Thaine?
I have a question. More of a statement than a question. We have a house in Tempe. We have a renter in there, and copper line behind the wall under the sink in the kitchen developed a leak. So it leaked and leaked and leaked and leaked. And a single young man living in a house does not open cabinets very often. Why would they?
Right.
Needless to say, we had some black mold. We had to replace the entire kitchen basically. And the point I want to make and ask if this is the norm. When I went to my insurance agent, she says, "Thank God you have this extra coverage to cover it." I guess there's a basic coverage for flood damage, then there's this other thing. And I guess I had this other thing that I don't remember asking for, but it saved us like $5,000.
I would say you're lucky you did.
So I would just advise other folks.
Thanks to Kathy Sherrick.
Yeah, everybody's insurance policy is different. So whereas one insurance policy may cover something, somebody else's insurance policy may not. If you own more than one property, you want to over-insure the one that you don't live in, the one that you're not seeing, the one that you're not necessarily in charge of maintenance, 24/7. And it's very, very true. I have clients all the time that are covered for water damage or flood damage, but are not covered for mold damage. So that is something you may want to talk to your insurance
I expected
agent
mold to be
adjuster.
automatic. It's not.
Nope.
No, it's not.
And it's the most expensive part of.
Water's not either in Arizona, because when we bought our house in Flagstaff, they had had a flood before because they had a leak and they didn't disclose it, and I didn't want to sue, but I should have. But in your insurance policy, because you live in a desert, that's like flood insurance is not necessarily covered. It has to be extra for them to cover, to pay for that.
You
So
really
always
have,
ask.
you really have to check your insurance policy.
Exactly.
Arizona is a glass state, which means that insurance companies are required to replace your glass if you get a chip or get a crack or something
Correct.
like that. So I went to my insurance company after I got a chip from a truck in front of me, and they said, "Oh no, you don't have glass coverage." And I'm like, "Excuse me, I live in a glass state. I've always had glass coverage. I've replaced this windshield 5 times now since I've been out here." And they said, well, they actually went back and listened to their conversation with me and the person, and they said, well, they said, "No, you don't have it." And I'm like, so the long and short of it is I had to pay for the window, even though I'd had glass replacement 5 times before, and had to specifically say, I want glass coverage. So these insurance companies, you've got to be very careful with them. Very careful with them.
All right.